I'm Allie. I came out after 20 years of marriage, and I have 3 kids.
I'm Melissa, and I have 2 kids, and I came out at 37 after an 11-year marriage.
This podcast is about coming out later and the struggles and victories that come with it.
When coming out feels like the end of the world, but it's really just the beginning.
This is the Lesbian Chronicles.
Welcome to the Lesbian Chronicles.
Wow, we got a new voice there.
Can you believe it? I wonder if people can guess who it is. Although, now that I think about it, it's going to be in the title of the episode.
Exactly.
So,
The jig is up.
it's Dr. Jamie.
Exactly. Thank you for coming back on.
Thanks for having me. I've missed you guys.
I know. I don't think we've been in person, me and you, in like a year, maybe. Like,
Yeah,
Really?
I
yeah,
think it has
at least
been a
for
long
a
time.
recording.
Wow.
But yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah, it has.
So-
Good to be here.
We appreciate it so much because Jamie stays very, very busy. We stay busy. Jamie stays busier.
Absolutely.
I don't know about that.
So-
You guys are really busy. Just the text exchange alone, trying to plan this.
Oh,
That's
was
true. That's
yeah,
true.
the three
Quite
of us
impressive.
trying to get this together was.
I don't know how you guys do
a
this.
circus.
every
Well,
single
Part of it
week.
is because Melissa refuses to move down here.
I mean,
You're getting
but
further
it's
and
not,
further.
you,
know,
make,
she
you make it
is.
sound like I don't come here every
I know.
time.
I know. She does. She makes the drive every time.
So-
I
Yeah,
have to be
where are
honest.
you driving?
I know. It's
Right,
true.
exactly.
Well,
Where have you driven lately,
I get called
Allie?
out on that all the time. I go 2 miles.
Yeah. You're either going 2 miles or to the airport and flying across.
And
the
I love how
country.
it's like a statement. It's like not even like a attempt
No.
at negotiation. Like I don't.
I don't. Like
I've-
people
I've
invite
given
us to
up.
dinner. I'm literally like, where
Right.
are we going?
Where-
I like you,
I
but
do
not
that
that much.
sometimes with people, though. I'm
Yeah.
like, so Midtown sounds good.
Yeah.
Bola, which is right next door to my
Yeah.
condo. Okay, I
Yeah.
can do that.
When people
It's
say
true.
we can meet halfway, I'm like, you want me to come to you? I can tell.
Well, part of it for you two also is you can, and I know neither of you would never drink and drive, but you guys can have like a beer or one
Yeah.
glass of wine over 3 hours and drive home and like feel, I know you're totally fine.
Yeah.
I'm so scared. Like I become paranoid and then I drive like shit.
I'm the same way.
So I cannot-
No, like I try if I am going to drive to not have more than 2.
Oh, I won't have one sip.
And then, but otherwise, I'm taking an Uber.
Yeah.
But then if I take an Uber, I got to make it worth it. You know,
Then you gotta really
so
tie
then
one
it's
on.
like Maxwell's here, and you know I'm having a night.
I couldn't, if I have 2 beers, I have a buzz.
Did you have a buzz the other night?
Yeah.
Wasn't that with those 2
I had
light-ass beers.
2
that you
light-ass
had?
beers. I came home, Maria's like, I can totally tell you've been drinking.
That's kind of how Marina
That's why I would
is.
never drive.
She has like
'cause
maybe
I'm
2
too
drinks
scared.
and she feels a little tipsy.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe this is a hidden strength, but also a liability for me.
Hidden
Because
strength,
no
but
one
also-
ever knows when I'm drunk.
I know. I've never
I
seen
was
you
gonna
drunk.
say I don't think I have either.
What? This is all coming right now into my head. I've never seen you drunk.
That's so funny because I've definitely been.
Oh,
drunk
I
with
know
you.
you've been drunk. But no, I've never seen you like village idiot. Like all my friends have been there.
You've seen me village at
Are you joking right now?
The good thing about when if I get to the point where I'm a village idiot, chances are everybody else around me is too.
So they don't even notice.
that's true.
Nobody notices.
I'm just keeping the vibe with everybody
Exactly.
else.
Exactly.
But no, but I mean, I'm really thinking about this because I have 2 friends that I now thinking about it that I've never see drunk. And one is you, but I know I drink with you frequently. And then the other one was, I won't say her name, but we all know her. And I did see her like have too much the other, like maybe a month ago. And it was like really interesting to me. Like I've never seen her like slur her words.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it was just like I got home. I'm like, wow, I'm not used to
Whole
that.
other person. Who knew?
Yeah. But Jamie, now I'm on a mission to see you really drunk.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
I'm drunk right now.
I'm drunk right now.
I'm drunk right now.
Let's see how this goes.
Wish
I know,
was drunk
right?
now
I
on
know.
a Thursday morning.
Seriously, as you milk that coffee.
What's in that cup?
Well, I wish there was more in it. Today is my kid's first day of school, and so my daughter was really excited and couldn't sleep and woke me up twice during the night.
Get out of
I'm
here.
like, why do I need to be told that you can't sleep when you're 9 years old?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Lay there.
Oh, I know.
Kids need to just make the announcement to know they're not alone.
Right. I think that's just it. She
Or
wanted the
they
comfort
just want us
of
to
knowing
suffer right along with
someone
them.
else was conscious in the house.
Right. Right.
So
Just to let you know, I'm awake.
I'm awake.
I know.
You know,
That's
I
funny
do.
because that read last night was like, come back in 10 minutes, like after I tucked him in. So then it was like minute 12 and he's like knocking at the door. It's been 10 minutes.
That's
I'm like,
hysterical.
oh my God,
You have
dude,
to do
really?
it too.
He has a timer.
Yeah. I guess he has a timer.
Wow.
He's watching the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
is he really like particular about time? Like my son, he wants to know like down to the minute how long something's going to take.
Oh,
And I'm literally like,
I have no clue.
Don't know.
My kids are the opposite. They have no concept of time.
Really? I don't know what's worse.
Serves them directly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. One day though, you will not get those requests to come back in 10 minutes.
I'm so
I don't
happy.
know when it happens.
Yeah.
But they don't even want me to tuck them in. Well, I mean, Jack obviously, but Tyler does not even want me.
Oh,
I know. That will be like heartbreaking.
It kind of is.
Yeah.
I heard something once that like being a parent is basically like slowly being broken up with over the course of like
Oh my
18 years.
God.
That is
And it's heartbreaking.
bingo. That's it.
Yeah.
Like, cause it just slowly, like
Yeah,
things
it's like the ultimate like ambivalent
shift.
partner.
right. Yeah.
partner.
It's a relationship that you know is going to change and end eventually.
Guys, this
Or not
is like
end, but
Yeah,
it's going to be
and
so
the more
different.
they do their important work of individuating and becoming their own person, the more obsolete you are
Yes.
in that relationship.
Right.
And then no wonder we all have abandonment issues if you're
oh
a
my
parent.
God, you're right. And you guys, this is hitting a little too close to home with
Yeah,
my
right?
moving
I
for
know.
college.
Yours it's about to
Yeah.
We didn't
take
even
off.
talk about that.
I know. Are you going to medicate me? Because I really think I'm going to need it
We're
hard.
all going to need it just
Yeah.
vicariously.
When does she leave?
I'm getting in bed for a week when she leaves. August 26th.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be there for like 4 days with her to like see her off, but it's going to be, it changes. I mean, it's done. It's never going to be the same again.
I think that's probably also like one of the hardest things about like getting a divorce and just agreeing that you're going to like give up time with your kids.
I know.
You know, when the time is so fleeting and limited already.
Right.
It's like I remember when we were talking about like getting a divorce and how custody was going to work, and he wanted to do 50-50, and I was just like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
Like I can't handle that.
Right.
You know?
I know, because it is. That was, and sometimes it comes later. Like you get the divorce, you see the decree, and you're like, okay. And then it's like it hits you later that like, oh my God, it's been like I've missed this, and a tooth falls out, and they send you a picture of it, and you're like, like punch to the gut.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
This is such a unique type of loss because there's a loss either way, right? If you don't proceed and do the really hard thing that you know is right for you, you lose.
Yeah.
You lose yourself.
It's true.
But if you honor yourself in all these ways that are supposed to be beautiful and exciting and, you know, important for everybody involved, you have to sacrifice things, quote unquote, that you devoted your entire life to.
Right. To
And
building.
to build it. And the image of what quality time is connected to quantity time,
Yeah.
right? The daily routines. I mean, the things that make up the stuff of parenting are...
Did you brush your teeth?
Yeah. Did you brush
Yeah.
your teeth? Getting breakfast ready, carpool. Those are the things that, you know, you might not have every day, but those are the things that we associate with like quality time, parenting, family life.
Melissa and I call that like the price of admission. The price of admission to coming out and being gay is those sacrifices. And I think for some people, it's not worth it.
It might not be worth it. And also there's potentially a different frame, you know, like price of admission is a thing. Sure. Because you feel it. I mean, there's no better evidence than that.
Yeah.
Than you feel it. But there's also a kind of task to reframe and redefine what quality time means, what family looks like, what you might feel like you're losing could also be just a different way of experiencing the thing that you still and will always care about.
Yeah.
So it's not that the price of admission means a total loss. Like you're never going to not be a mom. You're never going to not want to invest in those relationships with your kids. It just looks different.
It's actually really reassuring, Jamie.
You know?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a task that comes up around so many different things in life. I mean, even like sending a kid off to college.
Yeah.
That's a huge loss. The price of admission for raising independent kids is that you lose them someday.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a price that feels like, you know, an insurmountable grief, but isn't it also just adapting to a change? And change is always about loss and about cost.
Yeah. It's the cost. It's not even, it's always the cost. Like when I think about every big decision, selling a house and moving, it's not that I'm excited about the new house, but there's things about the old house that it's like, oh man, like this is a little sad.
Every celebration comes with grief. Every gain comes with loss.
Yeah.
We don't think of it that way because I think in our culture we're encouraged to celebrate the hell out of stuff or grieve the hell out of stuff, but without really seeing how those two might be integrated experiences because they're kind of two sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I mean, name any positive change that people are often excited to, look forward to or embrace that doesn't come with a loss.
Mm-hmm. There aren't any.
There aren't any.
Right.
Right.
It's true. And I think too, there's other layers. It's not just the kids. There's other things like after you've left that you're living in this new life, you came out as gay. There's an exciting period of like, oh my God, Melissa and I are out on the town or we're going to group and we're starting to get excited. But then 2 years go by and there's like a slap in the face that you didn't realize. Like there's more. Would you say that's true too? Like it comes in waves of like loss, like things that you don't expect to care about, you do.
Yep.
And then it's just like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about that. Like even the taking Tate to college, it's like, who goes? And the way it looks.
Aren't you both going to go?
Yeah. Everyone will go. Maria will go.
Yeah. I mean, this morning taking the kids to their first day of school, both me, my ex-husband, his girlfriend partner were there. And it's like, we're all showing up with all these kids and everybody's just like, oh, hey, everybody's here, Yeah. Like we're all showing up for it. And, it doesn't have to just be like, yeah, you're losing time in so many aspects, but at the same time, there's so many things that you can still do together.
For sure.
But also I feel like it makes me value my time with them in a way that I didn't previously.
Yeah. That's definitely true.
Like I really try to think, like yesterday, last day of summer break, I'm like, okay, we need to do something today. Like we can't just veg out all day. And it was something as small as taking them to the pool, but at least it was something.
Commemorating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you might even be more mindful of making the time high quality because of the way that it's structured now, that it's not time taken for granted because they're home all day and so are you or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're more intentional about how to spend that time. But, it's interesting that the two of you are talking about the experience of grieving and noticing how there's like an evolution to it. When you have best case scenarios.
Right.
And this is best. Yeah.
You guys have
absolutely.
Best case
And
scenarios.
it still sucks.
And it's still hard. So I think there's a lot of love and compassion to be thrown out to the people who will probably not have these outcomes. May not have these outcomes, or it just may take a lot more time to have those outcomes.
Like that's true. Like how many women they have crappy exes that are like really tough on them and make it miserable. Or not crappy
exes, but exes who are hurting in such a way that keeps them from being able.
Yeah. And in the more appropriate way of saying it.
Right. They're crappy.
These dickheads.
Can't get over it.
But I think that's actually...
like they didn't just get their heart
Son
broken.
of a bitch.
Yeah. Get over it.
But get over it already. I'm gay.
Nothing personal.
It's nothing personal.
I mean, it's true. It's only been 30 years since I've told you I loved you and I'm devoted to you. It's only the vows that we made.
No big deal. No big deal. Forget that.
But we're laughing. But I think what just occurred here is an example of how we all want to put things into black and white categories. It's either going to be okay or it's not. Either I'm going to have a supportive husband or ex-husband or he's going to be crappy. Right? Like we want for things
either I'm going to meet this amazing woman or I'm going to be alone in the world.
It's going to be okay. I'm going to meet someone. The kids are going to be okay. Or everything is going to be completely, blown up and never repairable. It's going to be both all the time.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure there were moments that Chris was crappy.
He was definitely. There were moments I was.
Yeah. I'm sure of it.
Yeah.
Ways that, because this, we're talking about a situation in life that is full of contradictory but coexisting truths, right? You're moving into this next phase with hope and also terror.
Yeah.
You're moving through it with guilt and also pride that you've found the courage to choose yourself in a way that you never have. There's hundreds of examples of that where it's a both and between things that can't possibly coexist in harmony. So They do. And so therefore there's no grace. There's no graceful way to do it. There's grace, but there's not a graceful way to do it all the time. Everyone's going to not be cute.
Is there ever though, like someone who they go through this? Cause I know Jamie, you have a lot of, your practice sees a lot of women like Melissa and I. Anyone who ever like a couple years in or even months in is like, I never should have done it. Like this is I ruined my life.
That kind of regret is usually, sometimes it's mood state dependent or circumstances dependent, right? Mood and circumstances, your current situation are always changing. So to make a definitive statement about regret, I think is really rare and not really a thing.
Okay.
Right? I think it's like, the better question is, how do I understand this current here and now experience of regret that I'm having? Is it, what does it look like? What does it feel like in my body? What are the memories and images that are coming to mind that I feel like I'm longing for, but simultaneously not really sure I want back?
Yeah.
Right? Like there can be like a complexity to even something as straightforward sounding as regret.
But it's like, that's also so depressing because it's like, not only do I not want what I had, but I also hate where I'm at.
Yeah. But I think, you have those moments, like you're saying.
Mood
it's
dependent.
Like,
it's
like,
moments.
Yeah.
We've definitely had moments like that where it was just like, this was not worth it. Like, this is really hard, or like,
you're going to have those moments.
Yeah.
And it's just like you bounce back from it.
Yeah.
That's true.
And that's I don't know, to kind of back up before regret is even a thing. This is why it's really important to do the work to really understand what it is that's happening for you while you're in the thick of the questioning process.
Can you do that while you're dating? Can you do that while there's some catalyst in your ear?
I think that's a really good question. And I think I am aware that I might be at risk for making a statement that doesn't apply to everybody.
Okay.
Because I don't know that we have control over how we feel when we meet someone, especially when that someone brings us into connection with something that feels so new and maybe even unknown. So there isn't anything like bad about dating or engaging in a catalyst experience. But I think when you're doing the work of understanding yourself and truths about yourself that might beg some pretty big decisions and big changes, you're activating so many different layers of vulnerability. Mm-hmm. You're kind of, sort of in a rather fragile state, especially if you feel alone, especially if you're not somebody who is good with change normally, or you're somebody who does have maybe a tendency to feel guided by other people's expectations or unclear about how to follow your own compass, right? It can be really rattling. And so it's tempting, I think, when you are so full of self-doubt to look to another person for the clarity. And there's risk in that, right? There's risk in investing your energy around figuring it all out into another relationship, because that relationship is always going to bring in a biased
I was thinking that, an agenda.
Mm-hmm. An agenda, a dog in the race, right?
Yeah.
Your catalyst is not going to be the best person for you to process this stuff with.
No.
And yet they're probably the one that you most want to talk to.
Yeah, it's the drug.
About all of it. Yeah. Well, and then there's the drug piece.
Yeah.
Which always sort of confounds clarity, right? So I think in a perfect world, if anybody maybe could, have their perfect sort of scenario, you would have the support, the courage, and the willingness to be really patient with your process and to go inside and do that work on your own with yourself.
Right.
Again, it's not to say that a catalyst is bad or you shouldn't date under any circumstances, but I think it really depends on how much that person has done that work of personal growth while also being able to have space for the really hard part of hurting your spouse.
Yeah.
Thinking about, changing the landscape of your day-to-day life with your kids. That's so hard in and of itself.
Yeah.
To add in another layer of considering somebody else's feelings, your catalyst experience, makes it so much harder.
Yeah.
Because it just is.
Right. It's just like so tempting, but it does make it so much harder.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a little bit of a, I don't want this to sound judgmental, because I really do feel like there are times that a catalyst experience is really illuminating and helpful and important. But there's a little bit of a growth bypassing that can happen, right? Like if I have my person who's waiting for me on the outside,
yes,
I'm going to feel so much better about doing this because I have that security.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But then that relationship, may end up falling apart, and then you're back at square one figuring out, wait, did I make a mistake here?
Yes. I think that is so true for so many people, because it does blow. I mean, I would say 90% of the people that we've got emails from, and 10% does it work out or less. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, that's just a catalyst. Yeah. And then that ends. And to your point, you wake up and you're like, I blew up my whole life for this thing waiting on the other side, and that's no longer here. Should I have stayed? Mm-hmm. And the answer for me, for sure, was no. But it still is like shakes you of, oh, what have I done?
But I think that's also like in the height of that regret questioning stage of like when you've done it all, the catalyst thing ends. And like initially I was excited, I was like, okay, that relationship ended. This opens me up to like dating other people. Yeah. But then as things weren't going well with the people I was dating, it was like, shit.
Yeah. And it's risky to also, base your decision about whether or not you regret something on whether the current situation is working out or not.
Yeah. Because talk about that.
So that's a type of bias that, I always think about, I am not a sports person, so I'm going to totally screw up the story. But there was a Super Bowl, I feel like many years ago, where a coach made a call that was like really risky and it cost them the game.
Okay.
And I'm going to butcher this whole thing. But what was so interesting to me is that in the interviews, with this poor coach who was being so blasted, if the outcome had been one that
was successful,
he would have been a genius.
Yeah.
He would have been praised. He would have been like, how courageous of you.
Yes.
That you made that really risky call that no one
thought of
or supported, but you won the game. So how does it feel to be like a hero?
Yeah.
Right? But it didn't go that way. It didn't work out. They lost.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have lost. They lost. And so he was blasted.
Idiot.
Right? And then he felt regret. I shouldn't have done that. Well, you can't base the quality of your decisions based on whether or not the risk that you took went in your favor.
And what is your favor?
Exactly. That's a very excellent question. What is your favor? What is best for me?
Yeah.
Maybe what's best for you is that you go through all this shit and still come back to yourself. Maybe it's brutal. Maybe it's more brutal than it would have been had you met your perfect person immediately and lived happily ever after. But then maybe you're always wondering, could there have been other people that I might have connected with more in this phase of difficulty in my relationship that is so, generally okay, but sometimes not? I mean, there's always going to be those moments. No relationship is perfect. No outcome is perfect.
Does your partner have to be I think about people that, are perpetually single. They just seem to date and then they're single again. They date, then they're single again. Do you have to, not that you don't have to have a partner by any means, but can you have a partner that you sleep with, that you're like dating, that you're into, but maybe that's not where you get your deepest connection? Or is it like, that's a hard way to go through life, to have this partner that's not where you find your connection? I guess I'm thinking about, because we had a dinner party not long ago and there were some single people and some married people, and the single people seemed kind of like thriving, but they were dating, just serial dating. And I just wondered about like where they get their fill, I guess.
I think it depends on what your personal experiences and needs are around fill, right? Some people, I think this is another cool thing that's sort of changing in our culture, that women especially, I think, are feeling more and more free to explore lots of different variations of relationship security.
Yeah.
And the experience of getting needs met. There are lots of women who are choosing not to get married. There are certainly women who are choosing not to have kids. There are women who are choosing more and more to be single, especially in middle age and beyond, because maybe their values are changing, or their priorities are changing. So I feel like there is space for people to consider the possibility of getting needs met in multiple ways, not just from, this quote, secure partner. A lot of people want that. I think that's still probably the norm, in terms of what people ultimately want, but not everybody.
Yeah.
Women especially, I think, are more empowered to value casual sex and relationships without a whole lot of, strings or expectations, living independently. A lot of people are partnering, in monogamous relationships, long-term committed relationships, and choosing not to live together.
Yeah, I am hearing about that more. Yeah.
So I think the idea of what's normative is evolving, which is really exciting and kind of cool. And I think that's happening alongside like the evolution of what we consider sex positive, a sex positive society, more sex positive society.
It is interesting because I think like if I was in my 20s today, I would be looking at things so much differently than I did at that time. Like, because I felt like,
amen, sister.
you had to find a husband, like that was like priority.
Yeah.
Was to date and find someone that you were going to like
settle down with, have kids.
And
I call it the conveyor belt of milestones.
Like it felt like there was no other option. Like that milestone. It was so celebrated too. And I always think about that. I'm like, in what way is marriage an accomplishment?
Right.
Like I could be married tomorrow if I really wanted to be, not to Marina, but
right.
Like if I wanted to just find somebody, and we act like it's such congratulations, pat on the back, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, you didn't graduate. It's not like you got your master's degree.
Yeah.
No one congratulates someone for getting a divorce either.
Yeah.
It's always something.
And that's hard as shit.
Yes.
That's way harder than the marriage.
Sometimes it's more an accomplishment to get a divorce, especially if it's in rare cases, like an amicable, friendly, loving,
Or as in an abusive situation where it's scary to exit or you're reliant on them financially,
What about saying like women now are more sex positive and they're doing all these things? Like back to your point, when you're in your 20s, like it felt very frowned upon to be this woman out there just sleeping around. And like, I will say like my daughter's generation, there's no stigma attached to sleeping around. Right. Like they do what they want to do and get what they need. But like, I wonder at my age, like, let's say I'm single, we're in our 40s. Would you I wonder, I still don't think I could do that. It's like, I'm so conditioned.
You're so conditioned.
Are you conditioned or is it really who you are? We're talking about conditioning and maybe it's hard to separate conditioning from identity or from your own personal standards of, what you want.
Yeah.
But that's why I think it's helpful to have conversations like this, to really get in there and get curious. Like, what are the things that have guided me so far in my life in terms of the way I've made choices, the way I identify myself, who I think I am?
Right.
And what's, for a lot of women, what's guided them are expectations that are outsourced, that are not necessarily coming from an intrinsic sense of who they are or what they want. And that can be really jarring for women. Like a lot of women that read Untamed, for example, there's this whole like revolution of women that are like, holy shit, I never thought about that.
I'm a cheetah.
Yeah. And now that I'm thinking about it, I kind of don't know if I'd choose any of this. That's really upheaving for a lot of people, but it's an opportunity. And a lot of women can do this work and decide not to change a thing.
That's it too. Like, I think that happens a lot. Like they do all the work and then they're like, you know what? I'm satisfied with I'm okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you can still feel really clear about, your sexual orientation or your curiosities, or you can even, I don't know, decide, maybe you're gay, and that doesn't necessarily, I don't know, create like a linear path towards
I have to leave.
Coming out and leaving.
Yeah. Could you be gay and stay married? Like, do you see this in practice? Like people are gay and they just choose to stay married forever. They're never leaving. They don't act on it. They just stay in their marriage. And
yeah, I mean, I think that the first sort of stage typically is figuring out how you feel about what you're discovering about yourself, what it means for you, right? So, for example, some women feel tremendous clarity and relief and freedom through the kind of experience of realizing something different about their identity than they previously thought. And that experience in and of itself, the relief, the freedom, especially if they can maybe find a way to sort of talk about it and explore what it maybe means for them, that's peace giving enough.
Right.
Right. But for some people, especially people who come to a realization about identity as opposed to just a sexual orientation or preference, that feels a little bit more like something that I may need to explore in a different way, like experientially.
Yeah.
Or maybe I have to kind of separate myself from certain things that have influenced me for so long that I don't have clarity. And maybe I need that clarity.
Right.
So it's really, I think, just it has to be, I don't know, explored individually, right?
Yeah.
Because what it means for people is so variable. It's as variable as sexuality itself.
We went a little long on this episode, so we're going to pick it back up, same topic next week.
Want to support the Lesbian Chronicles podcast? Rate us and write a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify.
We love listener feedback. If you'd like to share your story, email us at melissaandallie@gmail.com. That's Melissa, MELISA, and Allie, ALLI, @gmail.com. Or follow us on Instagram at Lesbian Chronicles.